2 years ago, Sophie's life changed forever when her beloved cat Tom vanished without warning. She searched tirelessly, clinging to hope, but fearing the worst. Just as Sophie had begun to accept his loss, Tom returned one cold winter night, bringing with him a mystery more shocking than she. Imagined for Sophie, Tom was more than just a pet. He was her best friend. Whenever she felt lonely, his playful purrs and warm cuddles reminded her she wasn't alone. He had been by her side during some of the hardest moments of her life, offering comfort in a way no human could. So, when Tom disappeared 2 years ago, Sophie's heart shattered. At first, she refused to believe he was gone. She scoured the neighborhood, calling his name until her voice cracked every tree, and lamp-post in her small-town bore flyers with Tom's picture and Sophie's tearful plea. Please help bring him home. She spent sleepless nights scrolling through online lost and found groups, hoping someone had seen him months past, and with no leads, Sophie's hope began to fade. Friends told her to move on, but how could she? Tom wasn't just a pet. He was family each night. Sophie clutched Tom's favorite toy, her tears soaking her pillow as she replayed their happiest moments together. In her mind, she wondered, what if he's out there scared and alone as time went on? Even her closest friends stopped mentioning Tom. They wanted to protect her from the pain, but Sophie's longing for closure only deepened her days, blurred together a routine of work, silence, and aching emptiness. A part of her still refused to give up hope. Even though the world seemed to have moved on 2 years later on a frosty winter night, Sophie found herself staring out the window, clutching a mug of tea. She had started to accept the heartbreaking reality that Tom might never return, but just when she thought her journey with him was over, fate had a shocking twist in store. It was a bitterly cold winter night, and the snow fell in, heavy silence blanketing the streets in white. Sophie sat on her worn-out couch, a steaming mug of tea warming her hands. She gazed at the flickering light of the television, lost in thought. It had been 2 long years since Tom, her beloved cat, had disappeared, though. The pain had dulled. The emptiness lingered in her heart. Suddenly, a faint scratching noise broke the stillness. At first, Sophie dismissed it, thinking it was the wind rattling against her door, but the sound came again, sharp, deliberate. She froze, her breath catching in her throat. Her eyes darted toward the door. Could it be? No, she told herself. It couldn't possibly be him. The scratching grew louder, more insistent. Sophie set her mug down her hands, trembling as she stood. Her pulse quickened with every step she took toward the door. Slowly, she reached out and turned the cold doorknob as the door creaked open. The icy winter air hit her face, sending a chill down her spine, and there he was, sitting on the snowy porch, looking up at her with piercing green eyes. Was Tom? Sophie's heart stopped. "Tom," she whispered, her voice breaking. The cat tilted his head slightly as if recognizing her. Tears blurred her vision as she dropped to her knees, reaching out with shaky hands. "Is it really you?" she choked. Tom didn't move, but let out a low, soft meow. Sophie scooped him up, clutching him tightly to her chest as tears streamed down her face. But as she held him, a strange feeling crept over her. Something was different. His fur was rougher, thicker, and matted with dirt. His eyes, once soft and loving, now carried an eerie intensity, almost as if he had seen something unimaginable despite her unease. Sophie brought him inside, wrapping him in a warm blanket. She cried tears of joy, whispering, "You're home now, you're safe." But deep down, a troubling question began to form. Where had Tom been for the past 2 years, and what had happened to him? Something wasn't right, and Sophie could feel it in her bones. Sophie couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. From the moment Tom returned, he wasn't the same cat. She had once known his behavior was strange. He avoided the sunny spots he used to love, preferred hiding in corners, and would sometimes hiss at shadows on the walls. Even his meow sounded different, almost like cries of fear. Sophie's relief at having him back was quickly replaced by growing concern. She also noticed physical changes. Small wounds marked his paws, his fur carried a chemical-like smell that no amount of washing could remove, and his eyes had an almost unnatural glint every day. Sophie found herself questioning where Tom had been. Her imagination ran wild crafting scenarios, ranging from him being locked in an abandoned house to surviving in the wild, but none of them explained the odd smell or the peculiar scars on his body. Finally, Sophie decided it was time to get answers. She took Tom to the vet, hoping a thorough examination would shed light on the mystery. The vet ran several tests, checking his overall health and trying to identify the strange odor clinging to him when the results came back. Sophie's heart sank. The vet found traces of a rare chemical in Tom's bloodstream, and it was something she couldn't identify, but suspected was highly toxic. He must have been exposed to this over a long period. The vet explained, "I recommend keeping a close eye on him. This could have lasting effects," determined to uncover the truth. Sophie turned to her community. She posted pictures of Tom and asked if anyone had seen him during the time he was missing. At first, there were no responses, but one evening, Sophie received a message from a man who claimed to have seen a cat that matched Tom's description. He mentioned spotting the cat near an abandoned industrial site, not far from town. "I've seen stray animals around there before," the man said, "but I always thought that place was too dangerous for them." Sophie's curiosity turned to dread the industrial site. He mentioned had a dark history years ago. It had been shut down after being linked to illegal chemical dumping. News reports claimed the company responsible had abandoned the facility, but rumors persisted that shady activities continued there, in secret. Could Tom have wandered into that toxic wasteland? And if so, how had he survived? Desperate for more information, Sophie started researching the site. Old articles described hazardous substances that had caused severe health problems for nearby wildlife. When she compared the chemical traces found on Tom to those mentioned in the reports, the connection was undeniable. Her stomach churned as she realized the extent of Tom's ordeal. Sophie's mind raced. If the site was still active, what other dangers did it pose? And had Tom's exposure changed him in ways she couldn't yet understand? Feeling both anger and fear, Sophie dialed. The police determined to uncover the truth behind the place that had stolen 2 years of Tom's life. Sophie couldn't ignore the truth any longer, and she called police station for further information. The police confirmed that the chemical on Tom was tied to a high-profile criminal case involving illegal experiments at the abandoned industrial site. The exposure had altered his behavior, his instincts, even his appearance. As Sophie looked into Tom's eerie, glowing eyes, she felt a mix of fear and sadness. What had they done to him? The officer's final words echoed in her mind. "This case goes deeper than you think." Tom's transformation was just the start. Sophie sat beside Tom, gently stroking his now rough and matted fur. He purred faintly, his once vibrant spirit now dimmed by the horrors he had endured. Tears rolled down Sophie's cheeks as she whispered, "You're safe now, Tom. No one will hurt you again." Deep down, she knew their time together was painfully short. Tom's transformation wasn't just physical. It marked the end of the life he once had,